Hi friends, it's Julie Golding Page, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in St. Stephen, New Brunswick, Canada, along the tidal Scoodic or St. Croix River, the traditional territory and home of the Passamaquoddy. And I'm grateful that they share this beautiful place with us. Today I have an easy fun fold card for you using the Ocean Friends bundle and Friends of the Ocean paper. So let's get right to the project. All right, here we go. So here's a little preview of what we're going to be making today. I hope you'll like this little card. It looks impressive to have it open like this, but it's actually super easy to make. So we will get right to it now. And this is the Ocean Friends bundle. So here's the stamp set, and this is the dies. So as you can see, you can cut out the crab image, or you can cut out the lobster image with the dies. They also have this coral or greenery. It could be seaweed as well. And they've got these bits of greenery, plus this little wave, which is another really useful one. And then these little tiny sea stars, which could actually be flowers too, if you wanted to use them for that. So it's a really nice die set. We're going to be using it a little bit today. And you'll be seeing the cool paper that goes with this that makes this card so super easy. So what we're going to start with, as I always like to start, is with stamping. So this is a little piece about a 1/2 inch tall of lemon lime twist. So we're going to just stamp on there. And as you can see, I used Hello Friend. So we're going to stamp on that. And I'm just going to hold this card shut. I'm just going to put a tiny little piece of tape on here, so it'll just kind of keep it shut for us so you can see it better on the screen there. Okay, so I'm going to get out Hello Friend, and we will stamp with that. And as you can see, some of my stamps are a little pink here. That is because when you use a red ink or anything that contains red, so it could be pink, it could be red, it could be purple, because purple is made with red plus blue. The red inks actually stain the photopolymer stamps. That's these clear stamps. It does not affect the stamp in any way, as long as you just clean it with water. So I just clean it with my stamp chamois here. I just put water in that, and I clean it with water, and I'll show you that just in case you haven't seen it after we use this stamp. It gets it completely clean, but it just stains the stamp. So you could actually use this Hello Friend with yellow or light green or light blue. It won't stamp pink. It won't stamp red. It's just a matter of something in the red ink gets into the stamp. And I saw the truth of this with red ink recently, because we're taking really old wallpaper off the wall in our bedroom. And our house was built in 1917, and this may well be original paper that we found under a couple of layers of other paper. And you know what happened? It had red flowers in the wallpaper, and the red actually leached through several layers of wallpaper to make pink stains where the flowers are on the top layer of the wallpaper. It's the funniest thing, because the pink stains don't appear in some of the layers, but just in the top layer, and it went right through all the other layers. So you can see how red as an ink is really powerful stuff. So just be aware that it can stain your photopolymer stamps. All right, let's see if we can get this stamped nicely here. So I'm just stamping right in the middle. This piece of lemon lime twist is, again, 1/2 inch tall and 3.5 inches long. And I'll show you why I made it that long here in just a minute. So I like this ink. This is Melon Mambo. I think I forgot to say that. And Melon Mambo makes a really nice clear sentiment. So I love that color for stamping sentiments, and lots of other things too. But for sentiments, I like really nice bold colors. So it's Melon Mambo. It's a color that's been out for a really long time with Stampin' Up, and it's quite a nice one to use. All right, so we're just going to stamp right in there, and you can see it's still got the staining from the pink, but it's actually clean, and I'm not getting pink on my fingers when I'm brushing it now. So you could actually use that for any color you want now. Use the stamp in any color you like of ink. So I'm just going to put that away right away. because these photopolymer stamps tend to stick to things. They're kind of sticky, so they'll stick to your acrylic blocks to stamp with, and they can get stuck to papers and then you lose them on your desk. So the voice of experience would say, let's put them away. All right. Oh, hi, Kathy. I hope you like the card today. So I'm just going to cut a little bit of this off so we're kind of equal on either side there. This one's a little bit bigger too. Let's make it just a little smaller. We don't need it quite that long. And then I'm going to do this little trick that doesn't require die cutting or anything. It's one of the first tricks I think I learned when I learned to do stamping and card making, and that is just to cut in a little bit in the middle of the end piece there, and then cut from the edge to where your cut ended in the middle, and do that on the other side as well. And it just makes a really decorative chevron shape on your card making piece. So it's a really nice touch. So it looks quite decorative and cute. So we're going to do that on the other side as well. I try to kind of be equal or more or less equal in the amount that I cut in from either side, but you don't have to be super precise and it'll still look really nice either way. I don't imagine anybody's going to be measuring your cuts to make sure they're exactly on. But if you do have someone like that, well, you can always measure, or maybe you can make them something else that doesn't use this precision. That might be better. So there you go. There's my little cuts. And I'm going to go on to the rest of my card now. So that's it for stamping. Very simple stamping. I like simple stamping. Sometimes simple is the best way to go. And now we're going to take our card base. So this is a Melon Mambo card base. It is 8.5 this way by 5.5 this way. So it's just half an 8.5 by 11 sheet. That's all. And what I've done, I'm not sure if you can see it on camera or not here. Can you see that little line there? I have scored on either side there, and I'll show you where I scored. So you can see. So I've scored at 2 1/8 on each side. So I measured in 2 1/8 on this side and scored, 2 1/8 on that side and scored. And then that leaves us a 4 1/4 piece across in the middle. So it's just taking a regular card dimension and splitting it up a little bit so that the math still works out exactly. And then you get this lovely card that opens in the middle. So we're going to take a panel, and I made this one 3 3/4 inches across by 5 down. And I'm just going to use my Stampin' Seal. You could use your liquid glue if you prefer. It really doesn't matter which glue you use as long as you just stick it on there. And it doesn't take a lot to stick one of these panels on. Stampin' Up! Has really, really good adhesives, and so you don't really have to fuss about how much you use of them. They usually stick really, really well. And there's my panel. So if you like to, you can also stamp some things in there. So you could take the stamp set. You could stamp a little crab inside, or this little piece of coral, or of seaweed under there, whatever you'd like to do. You could stamp another sentiment, but I like to write letters, and so I like my cards to enable me to have lots of space to write on, so I just leave mine blank, so that's why. All right, and now we are going to put on our decorative papers. So I want to show you this Friends of the Ocean paper. It's really pretty. It's got so many nice colors. So here's one pattern. Here's another. And these are great because this lobster and this crab fit the dies exactly. So you can cut out all of these with the dies and not have to use your scissors. There's this really pretty one as well with an ombre effect. This one that we're going to be using today. Then there's these lovely little sea stars, very pretty. And another one that has all kinds of undersea creatures as well. And I think we started with that one. So let's look at the backs because they're more monochromatic. So you've got the Melon Mambo, you've got this one is more Calypso Coral. This one is Pumpkin Pie. Another pattern of Melon Mambo again. And this one is Calypso Coral. pumpkin pie, and then we're back around again. So it's really nice paper. And again, it's called Friends of the Ocean. If you're looking for a supply list, just click through where it says learn more on this post, and it'll take you right to my blog post about this card. And I have a full supply list there for you with pictures. So here's the paper we're going to use. You could use that side, but I think this will look really nice on the front. So what we're going to do is just put some adhesive on there. And I think my adhesive's almost run out here, so might have to switch gears in the middle here. All right, so we're just going to kind of center that on the panel. And we're going to cover it up with some other things, so you don't have to be too precise about that. And then, whoops, we're going to put it on the other side as well. And get that one on. So here we go. And you might be able to see that how I folded my card left this little bit of white space in the middle. So I didn't fold it quite exactly on the line, but you know what? It's not going to make a bit of difference because we're going to cover it. So you don't have to fuss about it. It's really, really not important. You'll see it'll turn out in the end. And that's one of the things I like the best about card making, is that these things often will turn out anyway. You can find ways to cover anything you think doesn't look like you want it to. I don't even want to call it a mistake, because what's a mistake to one person is artistic license to somebody else. So I think that you can just kind of be yourself in card making, and everybody's creation is going to be different. There's no one right way, and there's no wrong way to do it either. Just people have their own preferences. And I love that you have such freedom with card making. All right, so here's what I've got. I've got this white piece. Let me get my ruler. I'll tell you how big it is. In case you want to make a card like this at home with the same or different colors. So it is 2 1/4. The white piece is 2 1/4 by 3 3/4. And this one, the orange one, is pumpkin pie cardstock. And it is 2 1/2 by 4. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. You don't have to do much at all for die cutting on this. In fact, if you don't have a die cut machine, you can still make this card. I am going to do a tiny bit of die cutting next, but you really don't have to. If you don't want to, you can use your scissors. So here's a piece of paper. You can see I've cut out all these little guys and I've used them on cards. So what I'm going to do now is cut out this little lobster right here, and I'm going to show you how slick these dies are to use. They just make this complicated bit of cutting super easy, and it looks incredible when you're done. So let's just cut out around and make sure I don't cut into any other image, just in case I want to use those. And we're going to dig out the die machine here, and we're going to cut that out. So I'm going to get the die out here first. And you can see I have my dies all on this magnetic sheet. And I just got these magnetic sheets at the dollar store. Various dollar stores might have them. I know in my area here in New Brunswick, Great Canadian usually has them. But others may have them as well. I think Dollar Tree does in Ontario. And it just keeps all the dies organized for you. They don't kind of fly off onto your desk. They're just magnetically attached, and I find it really helpful. When you get one of these sheets, it's almost exactly the same size as the envelope that Stampin' Up! Sends you the die cuts or the dies in. And so you just have to cut it slightly and then it fits. And I think it's brilliant because it's such a convenient way to keep them. All right, so let's pull out our die machine here, die cut machine, and we will proceed. So this is the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. It's very, very light, very easy. And if you're looking for one of these machines, I always tell people, type into the search bar on the Stampin' Up! Website, limited edition. Just type that. It'll bring you a blue version of this same machine, and it's a few dollars cheaper than the white one. So it's not something that's publicized really well, I don't find, but it was part of a promotion a while ago for people to join Stampin' Up! And they had a bunch left over. and they still do. So last time I checked, they still had the blue machine, and I think it's only about $4 cheaper, but hey, you might as well have coffee money, right? Who wants to spend more than they need to? So we're just going to put this in here. In case you haven't seen this before, the plates all come with instructions. You can see how much I've used mine. I've even rubbed off some of the instructions. But basically what it says is you put plate number 1 on the bottom. That's plate number 1. Then you sandwich your die and your paper between 2 plates with the number 2 on them. So here's number 1. Here's my 2 plates number 2. And I'm going to put my paper there so I can see what it looks like. And then I'm going to put my die on next. And you put it with the kind of nubbly side down. One side is absolutely flat. The other is the cutting surface. It's not sharp, as you can see, but you can tell the difference easily. So the only part that will cut, of course, is these little lines. So that's how you know which side. And we're going to put it right on the lobster there. You can kind of move it around till it's where you want it to be. And sometimes it's hard to keep it in one place while you're actually making your cut, and you just want it to stay wherever you've arranged it. So here's a trick for that. You will, sorry if I sounded far away, I just went to get my washi tape. This is just a little inexpensive washi tape that I had at home. A low tack tape will work, like a painter's tape, if you have that. So I just take a little piece of washi and make sure that my die is where I want it. I hold it down, and then I've just put this little piece of washi on, and it'll come off easily after the cutting is done. Then it doesn't move. One more tip about using the die cut machines, whether you have a big one or small one, whether it's Stampin' Up! Or another brand, I want to show you. See how many cut marks are in my bottom plate? And there's not so many in my top plate. What I try to do is always put the cutting side down on the same plate. And that means that you won't get a lot of those lines on your top plate, or at least not so many. And then you won't get those lines transferring into your image and making these weird embossing lines in the middle of your image. So that's what I try to do, just to keep things working well. All right, so here we go. That was pretty straightforward. Just gonna flip this up again and move it. All right, so I'm gonna very carefully peel off that little bit of washi. We'll keep it for another time because you can usually use them several times. And look at that lovely image. Look how detailed it is and how quick that was. If you were going to do that with scissors, it would take an awful lot longer. So I think for this particular set of images, the dies are really the way to go because they really, really make it so easy for you. All right, so that is our only die cutting we need to do. So we can bring all our pieces back and we're going to put this together. So here's our sample. Here are all of our pieces. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is just adhere our lobster to our little panel here. So let's do that first. And I am going to use the multi-purpose liquid glue for that. And I think that will be a really good choice. So you don't need much of it. So, whoops, mine's bubbling a little bit there. But you just need a little on your image. You don't want much because you don't want it to ooze around. And it will stick really hard for you. So I'm just kind of moving some of that around. And I'm not going to glue the antennae because I find if they kind of lift up, they look a little bit more realistic. And the rest of it will be stuck down hard anyway. So I'm just going to adhere that to my paper, just kind of in the middle. You can arrange yours, of course, wherever you would like it to be. It doesn't have to be in the middle. That's just what I wanted to do. And I'll show you about the antennae. See how everything is flat except for those antennae there that are kind of stuck up there, and it just looks more realistic. I think it looks pretty cool. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put this on our card. And this is why I said don't worry about that little white space in between where it meets here. where the card meets in the middle, because you're going to cover most of it with this anyway. So what I would suggest you do for this is you're just going to glue on this side, right? So just make sure you keep track. So it's this side, so it's over here. So when you turn it over, it's going to be the right side. And you don't want to go through the middle, because then you'll have glue on both sides and your card won't open. So let's see if we can just put a little bit there. Put a line of adhesive down. Yeah, my adhesive's running out here, so I'm going to have to pull it up just a little bit there so it'll work for me. And that might be the end of it. It is. All right, I'll go get a new one, and that's good because I can show you how to put a new one in. Okay, so this is the Stampin' Seal, and all you do is you just pull apart, pull the top part off the bottom, you remove your old one, and then you can have a refill. So these refills have 15 meters on them, so that's a lot. Or it's 16.4 yards if you speak in yards. And I find that they last quite a long time, and they're super easy to put in. So see those two posts? There's a post there and a post there. You just line up the holes with the posts and put the top back on. That's it. So we're done that quickly. It's all ready to go again. Okay, so let's see if we can get this on kind of in the middle like. Let me see. That looks more or less in the middle. Okay, so we did that. So it opens nicely. And now we have our sentiment. So on the sentiment, I'm going to use some dimensionals. And here's a sheet of dimensionals I've been working away at, these lovely little hexagons. And I'm going to put them kind of in the middle, and I'll show you why in just a minute here. So I'm putting them in the middle because I know that it's going to kind of overlap on either side of the card, and I don't want to stick to this side of the card or I can't open the card. So I'm just going to put them in the middle, and that way I know I'm safe with where they are located. And then you can put this on wherever looks good to you on the card. So you can see on my sample here, I put it toward the bottom, but you could put it someplace else if you'd prefer. And you could even put it down here at the bottom if you'd like. Like that would work also, but I think I'm going to go with this one, like my sample. So I'll try to get that sort of in the middle there. That looks pretty good. Okay. And now I'm going to put my little embellishments on. Now, these were the embellishments that came out with this whole Friends of the Ocean suite. They have run out of stock and they're not coming back, so they've retired those. So what I'm going to use instead is actually these ones, transparent adhesive-backed dots. And I wanted to use these ones because look at the color here. This is Lemon Lime Twist cardstock, and that's what this green is, Lemon Lime Twist. And guess what color these are? Lemon Lime Twist. So it's just perfect, and it has that same shiny texture, so I think they're going to look great. Again, these are transparent adhesive back dots. So let's see where we'd like to put those. Let me see. So I'm going to put one here and another one just kind of over the edge there. That looks pretty nice. And maybe another big one down here. So with that, my card is all finished. I hope you've enjoyed this particular project. And again, if you want to learn more about this project, or if you need any help with your crafting needs, just click through on one of the links that I've offered you there in the post, and I would be glad to hear from you. If you don't have a demonstrator that you order with already from Stampin' Up, I would be really pleased to help you out. I can help anybody across Canada, and just send me off a message and we can get started. All right, thanks again, and have a wonderfully crafty week. Bye for now, friends.